So I know a lot of us are having online singing lessons right now, but how do we make the most of it and how do we have the most effective singing lesson experience? I have the answers for you. Keep watching. Because of the recent COVID-19 situation, many singing students are having singing lessons online because they can't leave their house or they can't go to music school for lessons, and they have to attend lessons online in order to continue their singing training. In fact, many vocal coaches around the world are already conducting online classes, and this is not anything new to them. But to some of us who are more used to physical lessons or seeing a vocal coach face to face, we might be very new to this. So what are some of the things that we can take note of in order to make our singing lessons more effective? So today I'm going to give you some useful tips in order to make your online singing lesson a much better and enjoyable experience. So since it is an online lesson, you have to first make sure that you have a good and solid Wi-Fi connection. A lot of students don't have this Wi-Fi connection, and this creates a lot of problems because when the teacher is trying to listen to you sing something and suddenly the screen freezes or the audio lags, and we have a lot of problems trying to listen to what our student is trying to do. So making sure that we have a good Wi-Fi connection is one of the most important things that you can do in order to make your online singing experience a much better one. Some of us may have good Wi-Fi in the living room, but not necessarily very good Wi-Fi in our bedroom or even in other rooms of the house. So just making sure that you select a place that has a good and solid as well as a stable Wi-Fi connection is really important in making your online singing experience a more enjoyable and a smoother one. Having a set of good earphones that come with a microphone is a really useful thing to have when we're having online singing lessons. So I have one set right here. So this is something really useful to have, and as you can see, it's not a very complicated one. It's just a regular earpiece with a microphone attached. So just pop in the earpiece and making sure that the microphone is near your mouth. So when you're having online singing lessons, you can hear an instructor much better through the earpiece, and yet they can hear you singing much better through the microphone. So sometimes some people don't use this earpiece and microphone, and this is what they do. So they just sing to the MacBook or the laptop or the computer just like this, and a lot of times the microphone that the computer has may not be sensitive enough or may not pick up your voice in a clear enough way for your instructor to be able to hear you well. So it's always more advisable that you have a microphone, or you can even attach a USB or an external mic to your device or to your computer so that your instructor will be able to hear your voice much better. Of course, if you don't like the wired earphones dangling from your ears, you can always use a set of wireless earphones. So just popping one into your ear allows you to be able to hear your vocal coach or instructor much better. And because the wireless earphones also come with microphone, so your instructor will be able to hear you well too. I would always advise you to pop in just one side because you want to leave the other ear open for you to be able to hear your own singing while you're doing the online singing lesson. And so this allows you to monitor your own singing well and yet be able to hear what your online singing coach is telling you. So another thing that we want to take note of when we're having online singing lessons is the position of our device. So for example, if we're having the online singing lesson and we're using the mobile phone to meet our instructor, so this is something to take note of. So let's say we're using a mobile phone and the phone is positioned really low. So you'll find that your instructor will be looking at your nostrils most of the time if you're doing this. And it doesn't really look very enjoyable, and yet also it doesn't really give you a very good position for singing because your head might be too low, and if the device is even lower, then your head will be even lower. So we always want to have the device that is eye level. Try not to have the device too high as well, because that also makes you strain your neck muscles and make it harder for you to sing. So placing the device at eye level is the best way for you to keep a neutral position and keeping your head at eye level so that you can have a better singing lesson experience. And of course, if you're holding the mobile phone with your hand, you're actually activating some other muscles while you're doing that. So I always recommend that you leave the device on a stand or a tripod or just even a table, and make sure that it's at eye level. And so making sure you leave the phone there so that you don't use all these extra muscles when you're holding the device. And so when you're having the lesson, you can focus fully on singing well. And of course, if you're using a computer, I don't think anyone will be holding their MacBook or their laptop for 1 hour or even longer. So just making sure that you leave it on a support that is strong enough to hold the device, because sometimes I have students that have their computers collapse halfway because they left it on a music stand or something that's too flimsy to support the weight of the device. So always make sure that it's on a solid support so that you don't have to worry about it falling off. And of course, making sure that it's eye level so that when you're having the lesson with the instructor can see you well and you're also in a good position for singing. Now, of course, if the instructor requires to see your whole body when you are singing, you want to give them a full body view. So you want to place the device at a far enough distance so that they can see your full body. And sometimes we do that because we want to see what kind of strength that you're using with the body, and also how the rest of the body interacts whenever you're singing. So making sure that your instructor has a good view and of course has a good listening experience, these things are key to having an enjoyable and an effective online singing lesson. Now, another thing you want to take note of is when you're using a certain software. For example, a lot of people use Zoom for their online singing lessons. So you want to make sure that your audio settings are set properly. So always make sure that you set the following settings: that you enable the original sound from the microphone, and you disable all the suppression of background noise that is done by Zoom. Because when we have all these features inside, Zoom actually filters out certain parts of the sound, so then we won't be hearing the entire sound that our student makes. So always make sure that you remove the suppression of background noise and enable the original sound so that your online vocal coach will be able to hear you much better. So another thing you want to take note of is when having online lessons, there is always a lag between the teacher and the student. So it's pretty impossible for the teacher to be playing the piano and for the student to sing real time together with the teacher. If you're just using Zoom or other normal video conferencing software, there will always be a lag. And so this means that if you want a student to be doing some vocal exercise, you would have to give them the key, and then the student would do the exercise based on that key. And so it cannot happen at the same time because there's always a lag involved. So for students out there, just know that your teacher will usually be guiding you, and you will have to take relevant instructions from the teacher in order to be able to do the vocal exercises accordingly. And of course, it's always good practice for you to prepare your songs and music in advance. So letting your teacher know what song you want to sing for the next lesson allows the teacher to be able to prepare the materials needed for the lesson. And so we can prepare things like backing music, or we can prepare lyrics in advance, and we can also change the key of the music in order to suit the student. So let's say the key of the song is too high for you to reach at the current moment. The teacher can have time to prepare the music in a lower key so that the teacher can email you the music and you can practice before it's time for the online singing lesson. And so this reduces the amount of time that's required for waiting during the lesson, and also makes the lesson more effective. And so there are some websites that allow you to change key, but personally I use the free audio software called Audacity. And this one allows us to be able to change the key of the song, and the best part is it's free.
Oh my God! Wow!
This software is also not that difficult to use, so I would highly recommend it for beginners. And so with today's tips on how to make your online singing lesson more effective, I'm sure that you're going to enjoy having online singing lessons with your vocal coach. And because of the current COVID-19 situation, online singing lessons are going to be ever more popular, and it's going to be the way to go. So I would highly recommend you to try out some online singing lessons if you haven't done so. And with these tips that I've just shared with you today, you can make your online singing lesson as effective as a physical singing lesson. So for more singing tips, click on the videos provided below. And if you want to be notified every time I have a new video released, click on the subscriptions bell in order to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next video.